Have you got it now, Joe?
It is. It's working. Good.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Now we know.
No, now we know, but whether we'll still know next week is another matter altogether.
Yeah. Take a note.
Oh, wait, that's just been recorded. I wish I hadn't said that.
Well, you edit that?
Don't worry. I'll edit the chit chat out.
So I have a few things for this evening. Does anyone else have anything that I don't know about? I know Joe, Chris, and Randy. Anyone else have something they'd like to present tonight? Okay. So hearing nothing, that could mean one of two options. One is you don't have anything, or two, sorry, you haven't unmuted. All right. So maybe
it's Reg here. I might want to go over some of these things on the Astro Cafe web when you have a moment, okay?
sure. And remind us of our council meeting coming up. And
July 8th.
July 8th, yeah. All right. Maybe we'll start with Joe, spurred on by our sketching. He's he got a presentation on recording astronomical observations. So, you can share without me running into another room, right?
Okay.
Thanks.
Just have to find it. Here it is.
Yeah, lovely.
So I'm a compulsive note taker. I'll confess that right up front. So I'm always taking notes in various things. And I'm also paperless, so I don't write anything down on paper. It all goes into a computer or a smartphone or something like that. So I thought I would just go through what I'm using as far as recording what I see in the night sky and the daytime sky for that matter, and how I'm doing it, and maybe some of the possibilities for other people to adopt and investigate, whatever you like to do. So there's 3 phases to recording observations. I mean, you can log it. You can do very similar to what Diane and Nelson and a bunch of other people do, which is write things down on a piece of paper and maybe have a form that you use. You can take photographs, which is sort of my favorite way of doing things. And you can use diagrams and other media as well, for that matter. So first of all, I thought I better ask, or try and answer the question, or at least provoke you to think about it anyway. The whys and hows of recording your observations. It kind of boils down to what's in it for you and others who might be interested. So I think we've all been there where we've taken notes and then we've promptly lost them, or we can't find the particular note we need or whatever. That sort of keys into my proposition that going paperless makes it a little easier, but I know for the technically challenged, that's not the case. So I'll admit that right up front. But I'm talking about the way I operate, so stick with paperless for tonight. You need to stay motivated, and I think that is probably the most difficult thing to do, to not only motivate yourself to observe, but additionally to motivate yourself to record what you're seeing. Using media is a good idea. I mean, it can help you maintain interest. It can help you pass on some of that interest to other people as well. So drawing, sketching, photos, diagrams, star maps, whatever. Any kind of media really helps get the message across. And it also helps you remember what you were seeing, which I think is the point of it in the core. The core issue is you want to remember things. And you want to remember them by recording them. Having a plan is always a good idea. Using observing lists is a good idea, or some other kind of list that you particularly compose yourself. What you're interested in, I mean, may not be on the pre-printed observing list. So make your own list if you have to. That's what I do. I'm really not interested in observing lists and pins and stuff like that, so I just make up my own list and I follow that. Creating a legacy by sharing online, I think I'll skip over that for now, but let's just say that when we get into the little demo section that I have, I'll show you how I do it, how I share online. Sharing online or sharing with others is a good idea if you want to get them involved in astronomy. They may already have an interest, let's hope they do. And attending star parties and other events is always a great way that we share, and I guess that's one of the primary directives of the Royal Astronomical Society of Canada. So that's a good thing. It's also recording your observations allows you to look back on your progress. You know, improving your technique, both drawing, photography, observing,
You might drop it off.
and also maybe you can improve the frequency or the number of times in a year you actually observe. If you see one particular month or one particular quarter or one particular year where you're not achieving much in the way of the numbers, then maybe if you have a record of that, you'll spec that out and remedy it. By the way, if anyone has any questions or comments, please jump right in. Don't wait till the end. So I'm going to talk about using Evernote, which is what I'm using to go paperless. It's an online product. It's a product that runs on Mac and Windows computers as a software package. And it also runs on smart devices, your smartphone and tablets and that sort of thing. So it's pretty well universal. You can take your notes in any one of those, on any one of those devices, and you can see it in all the other devices right away, because this is a cloudy thing. So you end up, Evernote is a standalone product by the Evernote Corporation. OneNote is part of Microsoft's Office 365, and both require a subscription payment, just so you know. OneNote used to be free, and actually the older versions of OneNotes are still free if you want to use them. But Microsoft is asking you to consider it part of their Office suite. And I think Office 365 is about $80 Canadian per year. Evernote is in the same region, give or take. So let's just pop into this and have a look at me using Evernote. And forgive me, but I've just put some screenshots up here just so that we have something to look at. I use a template, and you can see the template on the right-hand side here. That is a note that I have typed, dictated. You can do whatever you like. If you're using a smart device like a phone, you can just talk into it and it'll transcribe your speech into text, or you can sit there and type on that incredibly small typewriter keyboard if you want to. Using a template is a good idea. You can see where I've got the date and time, so the start and the finish of my observing session. I put in the location, whatever information I have, I put in for location. That might be something pretty general. I may fill it in later. Who knows? If there's any observers around me and it's a group deal, so group observing, then I'll put them in there. I usually just use first names because this is published on the internet. I don't necessarily get permission from these people ahead of time, so I like to play it safe. Weather conditions as they apply to astronomy, temperature and dew point. Obviously, the dew point can affect how well you can use your optics without them fogging up. And the relative humidity plays into that factor as well, of course. And wind is a big deal. And then you get into the actual, we get into the actual things like stability and seeing and that sort of stuff. And if there's anything special. Yes.
Where are you getting that information? Because you don't have your thermometer out and.
Well, if I'm at the VCO, I just look at the weather station panel, which is on the inside wall. And if I'm not there, I fill it in after I get home, because I can just look it up.
And
just
the
general weather conditions.
Being in darkness, are those some sort of objective measure, or is that how you just felt that night?
Eyeball. I prefer to rate things out of 5, so they're always on a scale out of 5. But you can use a Bortle number. You can personalize it however you like, obviously. And in this case, being with the first quarter moon in the sky, I just mentioned that as well.
Joe,
so the next part.
What's the difference between stability and seeing?
Seeing is more related to the resolution, the visual resolution, you might say. Stability is actually where you have air moving and things moving around in the eyepiece. That's the way I interpret it anyway.
Okay.
The next thing is any instruments that are used and visual. So you can see the 3 bullets there are pretty simple. I don't get into too much detail. Invariably, a particular telescope will have 1 eyepiece on it most of the time. If we change eyepieces, then I make a note of that. But I try to get a little more detail actually in this particular note. I just put a 22mm eyepiece. I'm assuming that's the Nagler, the older Nagler, but I can't remember off the top of my head exactly what's at the VCO. So that's just sort of a ballparky thing. And then the most important part is what you actually saw. And I just describe it in words. But I also, as you can see with the diagram below the words, I've also done a screen capture from a planetarium program, so I know roughly what I saw, and I know that in this case the satellite patterns around Jupiter, so that's a good thing. And so all I have to do with words is just mention the ones I saw, and then I'm done. So you may notice a trend here. I'm trying to keep things simple. Saturn, again, the color of the planet and any kind of bands available is worth mentioning in a log, obviously. This is what you're seeing. We can switch instruments and do the same thing. The 16-inch TPO has slightly different capabilities than the 20-inch Obsession. And so any differences there or different targets, obviously, I would put them in there as well. Visually, I mean, I'm always looking up at the sky. Quite often, this is the only entry. There are no instruments involved in a lot of my observing logs. So I just do visual observing a lot of the time, sometimes with binoculars, sometimes with not, or not. And then if I can, I take a photograph, and that's on the left-hand side there. And that photograph is pretty close to what I saw in binoculars, although I don't think I mentioned binoculars in this particular log. So that's it. Use a template, keep it simple, get some visuals in there if you can, and that's it for the night, basically, as far as observing is concerned. The next thing I do, and I have to confess, I don't just have an observing log, I also have an astrophoto processing log, and we'll look at this live in a minute or two, because I only have one more slide and we're done. And I'll just show you exactly what I do in Evernote. But for now, this just shows you what I could take as an astrophotograph in 2005 and what I took 13 years later. Both are reasonably dark sites, were reasonably dark sites. One was taken from the Malahat and one was taken from South Cowichan. But obviously my capabilities hopefully improved in 13 years. My methodology as far as processing is concerned improved. My instruments changed and my equipment changed. So hopefully you make progress. And I think that's one of the points of keeping a log, is to hopefully it'll allow you to see some of your progress being made. So that's pretty well it. I have some resources here. They're all links, as you can see. You can buy a pre-made astronomer's notebook on Amazon if you want to for 20 bucks. You can use Evernote or OneNote. You can follow those links and go to the respective company's websites if you want to try them out. I think you can try Evernote out for free. I'm not sure about OneNote. You can certainly try out the previous versions if you want to see if it's going to work for you or not. I really think electronic note-taking is for you. Having a planetarium software application is an excellent idea, whether it's on your smart device or your laptop or desktop computer, whatever. They are invaluable for planning. And so, and I use them, as you saw in previous screen there, to actually use it. I just do a little screen capture in Starry Night, in my case, was what I use. I'll just do a little screen capture of the actual time and place as far as the diagram of the night sky in the area that I just observed. That saves me from drawing, and I'm a terrible drawer, so I just avoid it at all costs. So I'll do a screen capture and pop that into my observing log, and I'm done. Managing photos, you know, that's what's dear to my heart. I'm a photographer, up, down, and center. Lightroom is by Adobe, and AC/DC Photo is by a local company, actually, which is, I always promote them whenever I can. They both have similar capabilities. They allow you to manage your photographs. They allow you to annotate them, so you can put titles and locations and who owns the photograph and what happened that night. You can turn your photo collection into an observing log quite easily, because you can embed metadata inside a JPEG or a raw file or a TIFF or whatever. The trick comes in finding and using that information later. This is why I keep a log, as well as being pretty fussy about keeping metadata attached to each photo I take. But others may not want to go that far, or you're just not that anal, or whatever. So I've got to highlight again the Explore the Universe program that RASC is running right now. It's an observing certificate. It's online right now, and they're leading you through every second week, all through the summer, through one of the basic observing programs. So, hey, why not? We have the time. At least a lot of people do. The links to Sky News and Sky and Telescope are just there for placeholders. It certainly is a great idea to know what's coming up in the next few days, so you can plan things out. If you're going to log stuff, you're going to have to see stuff. If you're going to see stuff, you have to know it's there. So use your planetarium program and use the online resources, whatever one you choose. The Sky News Week Sky is really very good. You can also explore what other members have done as far as photography is concerned and observe those objects, whether it is photos, sketches, or whatever. What people have already observed is a good path to follow if you want to do your own observing program and roll it yourself. The last one is the astronomy link is to my personal website, and it's basically just a jumping off point to where we're going to go next. So I put that into the resources because I'm going to share this little slideshow on the website so you can find stuff later. I'll just stop this share and I'll switch over. If there's any questions, by all means, let me know.
Joe, I have a question. It's John.
Yes.
I think you know I keep paper logbooks. I'm a bit of a Luddite when it comes to electronic recording and stuff. One of the things that is I found the most useful of what I've got is that I do an index for each logbook so I can find stuff, because I'm frequently going back to find out how I did something in the past. So when you're looking for stuff, how do you do it? Do you do it just by a word search? Do you do an index for finding stuff, or how do you do that?
Well, John, I couldn't have paid you for a better segue into my next slide.
Okay.
Because
There's
I'm
no
going to show you.
There's no collusion here.
I'm going to show you exactly how I find stuff right now. All I have to do is find the right share to use. Okay, here we go. I think it's Evernote. There we go. So this is Evernote running on a desktop computer. And you will see over here on the left, hopefully everyone is seeing this okay?
Mm-hmm.
You will see an Astro Observing Log folder, and that's where I keep all my observations. They go a long way back. As you can see. Way back to when the moon was even, or the Mars, I should say, was nice and big. So I even have I've transcribed some of my old observations before I went digital. So, you know, lots of information there. And as you can see, that's, I think, the index that John was talking about.
Yeah, it looks good.
Is the second column. The second column here is each note. So if I go to each note, you can see they change to all the various stuff. And you can see the same template I'd be using that I was talking about previously, that I try and get location, time, date and time, and who was there, if anyone, and what I saw. And some visuals of some kind. Now, if I want to find something in here, that's pretty simple. Let's say I can go up to this find box up here and say, okay, let's go to 2016. And so now I have all my stuff that I saw in 2016, if I'm interested in that particular year, or in John's case, his particular book for 2016, see the same thing. So there we go. So in this case, on March 30th, 2016, I was up at Shawnigan Lake School Observatory, and we took this gorgeous picture of California nebulae and hydrogen elements. So I just put a small, So I just put a small example photograph in here. And I also have the name of the photograph, which I can find the bigger versions, the original versions, the raw versions, and all the other versions down here if I want to. I try and cross-reference, and I think that's probably of what happens with university-trained folks who keep journals, professional journals, and that sort of thing have to do as well. We have to do some cross-referencing, otherwise you'll never find stuff later on. There's not much point having a log if you can't find things later. So this is the sort of stuff that I'm doing and have been doing for many, many years. You can see here, I was on the cruise ship in the Makassar Strait in Sulawesi in Indonesia, and then saw the total solar eclipse. I measured the temperature. Here's the track. Here's some photographs, example photographs. And I just talk about my observations in here, the equipment I was using again, and the conditions. So in this case, it's a little more elaborate than it otherwise would be. But anyway, finding something like that is not hard. You know, I want to find solar whatevers. We can go through and do that. Here's my latest observation, which we talked about, I think, last week or the week before, which was our incredible sunspot we had back on June the 5th. So pretty simple stuff. I don't hesitate grabbing stuff from the web as well. So in this case here, I've grabbed the spaceweather.com sunspot diagram. So I have the Soho image as well as my own image to compare to it. Again, that helps me complete a log that gives me a little more information, and it also prompts me to try and improve my own imaging a little more. So that's Evernote. You can use OneNote the same way. Where they do differ, though, is Evernote allows you to share. In this case, I share my astronomy observing log online. And I don't have to do anything to share it other than just provide a link and people could go to it. So I'll demonstrate that next. If I can stop the share and reshare my web browser. Chrome, there we go. Okay. So I have a website called joecarr.ca, and it's all just personal stuff basically. And one of the points of the whole website really was to highlight some of my personal interests, and obviously one of them is astronomy. So here's my astronomy page. And so I have 3 links here that you can browse at your leisure. One is the online Astrophoto Gallery, which is the gallery that's hosted by RASC Victoria Center on our Zenfolio site. And, you know, you look at it and guess what? It looks a lot like an observing log to me. And if I click on one of these images, I have the image. I can get a bigger image. I have a concise write-up down here at the bottom. It's not a bad way to go as far as logging your observations if you're a photographer like me. You could just as easily do sketches or whatever you like. So that's one easy way to log. At least for me, it's easy because I'm always taking photographs. I take photographs every day, not always astronomical ones. We can even harken back to the old days. A lot of you people probably don't realize this exists, but there is a thing on our website called archive.victoria.rasc.ca, and that actually takes you back to the olden days. our previous website where we used to do,
2013.
log.
It's not that old.
we used to log a lot of observing highlights. You can see there's a link here to observing highlights. Everyone's observations were, all I did was screen scrape off email lists or wherever they happen to show up, and I used to collect observing logs for everyone. And photography. So we've got photography here, astrophotography, some of my early stuff. Comet McNaught back in 2006 and so forth. And as you can see, this is very much an observing log again. And the astronomy observing log link, the third link there, is the one that I wanted to show you because this is the one that is tied directly to my Evernote observing log. All you need to do is click View Notebook. Don't join the notebook, just view it. And then you can see it looks very similar to Evernote, and it's hosted by Evernote. And you can go through here and do searches and pick up any particular log entry you're interested in. So if you want to look at eclipses, there's all the eclipses, and you can go through them at your leisure. Those are all my observations of eclipses, both lunar and solar. So that's online and available to anyone who's interested. So that's another way to create a log. I think I'm going to stop there unless people have other questions they want to ask.
Joe, that's a lot of data for a simple-minded person like me to be putting in. You said that you actually dictated it, or did you write it all in?
No, I typed it in.
You did, huh?
Yeah. Typically, what I do when I'm in the field is I don't normally take a laptop computer with me, so I'll just pull up my smartphone, and I'll just create a bit of an outline, a brief observing log, and then when I get back home, I'll pretty it up, finish it off, that sort of thing.
Okay.
Joe, and when we were in Arizona, I was quite impressed with your logging on your computer, and we had a conversation about that. I, like John, it's very much like a Luddite. This is my notebook with the dates and all the messiers that I had actually spotted and recorded and sketched through Gary's 25-inch Newtonian. And I look back for them from time to time. They're just in date order, but and I have an old notebook, and the only regret I have is that I didn't do any recording before 2016. So, but I'm really glad that I started when I did. And I'm really impressed with the technology knowledge that you guys have as far as doing that. That's really great.
Yeah, I find it easy now that I've settled into the routine after several years of note-taking. There is one thing I should mention, that people can use voice recording and voice recorders to create a log, and that certainly is an easy way at the front end. The problem is, what do you do with it afterward? You either have to transcribe it or you have to index it, and both are time-consuming. But that is a way to do things if you need to avoid typing, is to speak into a voice recorder and then keep the files. And I mean, any smartphone will do that for you. There's apps, free apps available to record your voice. And of course, if you use something like Evernote, you can just hit the microphone button within a note, and it will use the transcription system built into your smartphone to actually translate the text in real time. So you don't, if you have something complicated, I would certainly use that feature to get the text in place that you need in order to remember the moment. Any other questions?
Joe, Reg here. I just wanted to say you gave me a lot of pretty impressive ideas there. I don't think the thing that's missing in my life is the discipline to enter the things like you've done. It's pretty impressive assembly of information you've got there. I've got this OneNote program that I was coerced to buy to keep my Microsoft stuff alive. So I'm going to take a look at that. So thanks very much for that. It was great.
Yeah. Well, you know, if I was giving people advice, I obviously don't jump into the deep end. I mean, just pick a small project, for example. Maybe the next month you're going to actually write things down in an electronic note of some kind. Take some more photographs with your smartphone, snapshots or something. Just try it out and see if you can make it work for you.
Great. Thanks very much, Joe. That was really interesting.
Yeah, fascinating.
Yeah. Perhaps Randy would like to give us a preview on the presentation he's going to do next week on a project on noon shadows, not to be confused with moon shadows, but noon shadows.
Thank you. Do you see my screen?
Yep.
Yep.
So, yes, the trick is that during COVID, my office is actually in a hallway upstairs, and this is where I am camped at every day. And there's a skylight on the sloping roof, and so I put some tape. I put that arrow, that you know, that bit of masking tape on the window, and it casts a shadow on the floor. And I'm a data person. I just like data. I like noisy data especially. And so
Good for you.
every day for over a month, I have been marking where that shadow is every minute from about 1 o'clock till about 1:30. So an interesting problem is that the sun is, you know, half a degree around, and so it doesn't come to a very good point. But what I found is that you can kind of see where it gets very dark. So I kind of followed that line along until it, oops, let me go back, until it intersects this line. But there's a certain amount of noise with that. The other thing, which I didn't realize, is when it's a bit cloudy, you get a shadow, but it's far more diffuse. Probably people have known this forever, but it was new to me to do this sort of accurate stuff. Also, I didn't know how far the sun actually moves in a minute. But it's, you know, using a sundial, you probably should be able to get 10 or certainly 20-second accuracy. You had a good grid on your sundial. That's one of the things I've learned with this project. So I started May 27th, and then once we got past the solstice, then I moved over to a red pencil. And just from looking at when noon should be, you know, local noon, I've been putting a circle on that. So it was at 13:11, 13:12. Now we're up to, you know, at 1:17 is our local noon right now. And I've started digitizing them. So this is the data put into the computer. In this one, I've colored each day a different color. And in the bottom diagram, the same points, but I've colored each minute by a different color. And it's pretty wibbly, but that's, again, I like noisy data. Unfortunately, it was cloudy on the solstice on the 20th, but we're getting a lot of very nice sunny days, so it's not really a problem. And what do I hope to pull out of this? Well, can I figure out where is north? Because when the shadow is its shortest, then that will be at local noon. And then knowing what the where the Tropic of Cancer is, I should be able to work out my latitude. Knowing what time it's local noon and knowing what time it is at Greenwich, I can figure out my longitude. One of the things that's interesting is seeing how many seconds it is from one day to the next. So noon is not the Earth spinning 360 degrees. That is a, what's the word, celestial day, which is about, what, 23 hours and who knows, 56 minutes, something like that. But the day is how long it takes for the Earth to go around 360 degrees and then enough to account for how far the Earth is moved around the orbit. And because we are near aphelion now, aphelion on July 4th, the day is significantly longer than the average day. And so that's why the local noon is creeping later and later every day. So the difference between the mean sundial and what you actually get, that's called the equation of time. And so let's see whether I can actually work these things out. And I'm not sure I'm going to do it for next week because I think another couple of weeks data is going to be a lot better.
Okay, fair enough. Didn't mean to put you on the spot there, Randy.
Well, I did say that I thought, but look, this is 1 week. The red is 1 week after the solstice. I would think that will be 2 weeks. Well, it might be good enough because what I have to do is I have to fit parabolas to these guys. Let's see. If I actually have a result, I will present it next week. More likely, it'll be 2 weeks.
Fair enough.
And I'm so glad that Astro Cafe is running through the summer this year. I've always
so
been
Randy,
able to tell
Randy,
them.
if you go long enough, are you going to end up with an analema?
Oh yeah,
That would be fun.
I'm hoping that I'm not in my home office that long.
I was going to say, do you need a cream for that?
Do I need what?
Sounds like a medic.
I just asked if you needed a cream for that.
Randy, what's going to happen when you go back to working in an office downtown and they find you on the floor most of the day drawing on a piece of paper like this?
Well, also, you know, a vertical, what direction is my, I have a west viewing, but a vertical window at my office. And it's not really as good. Having it sloped means that I beautifully get that I can actually drop a plumb line from the point of my gnomon down to the floor. So it's very, very simple. It's the easiest sort of sundial, much easier than like a vertical gnomon.
So you're going to build a sundial next?
Well, I actually do have a funny sundial. It's in my front yard. It's just a concrete slab with a point, and then what I've done is I've marked every 15 minutes on that. So it's a sundial where it doesn't tell you what time. You use your time to see how the sun moves. So I've done that. I'll show a picture of that also.
Okay.
But it's much, much smaller than this one. This one is, let's see, it's probably over 3 meters above the floor. And it's about a meter away. So it's like imagine a pole that's 3 meters high. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's a pretty big sundial. It's bigger than what most people have in their gardens.
Good for you, Randy.
Careful, you
Very
might
impressive.
lose your position as man of the moon and become the sun worshiper.
I was thinking about just picturing a nice analema there. That's pretty cool.
Well, yeah, you can just place one of these things there. It's coming up.
Yeah, you can see the,
And here it's coming down.
yeah.
Great. Well, thank you very much. Now, Chris, you were going to take us through the YouTube RASC site.
Yeah, I don't think we'd done that so far. So I decided to participate in the Explore the Universe online course that Joe mentioned as well. And I wasn't able to attend the inaugural session last Thursday. So I ended up joining or viewing it after the fact. And I didn't realize how much information there was on this site. And so I thought it would be worth us knowing about it. So if you want to find it, the easiest way is to search for RASC Canada or RAS Canada. And when you search for that, you should come up with this YouTube channel. So when that comes up, you'll get stuff happening. So, and commercials. But there's a whole bunch of programs and things going on, or that they've posted. And so I wanted to point out a couple of things because I was quite interested to find these were here. So first of all, if you are interested in the Explore the Universe program, that is here. You can view what they shared last Thursday. The next one will be a week Thursday, so not this week, the week after. It's this one here. It's just over an hour long. There's some very interesting things about resources, and they also are demonstrated where the support page is on the website. But one of the things that they pointed out in this one, and I'll just see if I can figure out which one it is again now, and I haven't had a chance to look at it, but they have a bunch of these Insider's Guide to the Galaxies series, and we've got a beginner telescope. I don't know if you can read the names that are there. Some topics on astrophotography. And one of the ones there is on stellarium. Here we are, this one. And this is roughly an hour-long webinar where they cover the stellarium program that, again, Joe's talked about, we've talked about in the past. And I've explored it fairly well, but I still really don't understand all the things I can do with it. So this is one I certainly plan to watch in the coming while, because I would like to know more about how to use it more effectively, because I think it is a great tool, especially as the desktop version, the one for is free and it's available for all platforms. So I just thought I'd highlight this. The GA videos are here. So if you've been going to watch some of the GA presentations, they're available directly from here as well. They've got a different series that have been going on especially since the pandemic started. And actually they also go way back in time. So if you start scrolling down, there's things that are from 4 years ago and so on. So there are some much older content on here too. So I had not actually gone and looked at this before, so that's why I thought I'd point that out, because it's it's got a lot of useful information and a lot of good resources in here. And if you're finding yourself kind of bored at home one day, this might be something that you want to look at. With specifically about the Explore the Universe, what am I looking for here? So they have created a page called ETU, Explore the Universe Online. So it's at rasc.ca, ETU Online. And I'll just point out that if you don't want to attend the webinars but still would like to do the program, one thing they've done is prepared a bi-weekly observing list. So for example, they've done the June 25th was the first one. So here are the targets from this first session. So it's going to be a full moon in the next few days. So this is what they would like these are the targets to look at on the moon. The full moon itself and these other 4 objects, some of the Maria and Tycho. And then they've picked 4 constellations, pointing out that Leo is getting quite low in the sky, so you need to jump on that a little bit. Do that one sooner if you're going to do it. And then an example double star, Mizar and Alcor. So as I understand it, they are going to put an observing list every 2 weeks up on here. And this would be a way to do the program. If you're not available or don't want to spend the time watching the webinars, you can just go and pull the observing lists and do them. The other thing they've pointed out is that there are some good resources, and let's see. I'm not They were actually working on a guide or a booklet, and Jenna demonstrated that at on this first session. Yeah, I don't see the link to that right now, but it is downloadable from one of the other pages. I think probably back in this observing program one, and they've prepared I think it's a 48-page document to go with the Explore the Universe. And yeah, the logbook, or here we are. No, it's not the one I'm looking for. So I'm not sure where they had that one at the moment, but it's not, sorry, it's not that one. But again, you could download that and print it out, or they're talking about getting them printed and making them available to members. They didn't say what the cost would be, but unfortunately it seems like shipping things from Toronto is expensive. But if you do want a logbook, you're not quite up to doing an online noting program, or you want a little bit more guidance than kind of free form, then you can do that. The other thing they do have here too is they do prepared logbook pages.
Chris.
So the page that you can print out, and they have a left and right version of that, and the only difference really is where the circle is. So they're on this side and the description box on that side, and this is a good example if you want to print some of these out and make yourself a logbook.
Oh, hi Joan, it's Glynis returning your phone call.
Oh, he's talking about.
So I think I'll stop if there's any questions.
Yes.
But there's quite a lot in that YouTube channel, and if you're interested, there it is. So RASC,
yes, definitely.
Canada on the end. And
so did you want to rebook another time, or just
video from the last week and join the course if you haven't already? How many people are doing it? Thumbs up if you are. Yeah, quite a few. That's good. Yeah, so hopefully we'll get lots out of it, and it will be a good encouragement to get through it, because I think this is, I figure this is third time the charm. I think this will be the third time I've tried to get going on it, and hopefully I'll do it all the way through this time. I probably have enough observations to have done it, but I just haven't gotten that organized yet. So anyways.
So Chris, will you, do you anticipate you'll have more time to devote to this in the next week or so?
Yes, yeah. As tomorrow's last day, so I'm retired as of Wednesday. So.
Oh,
congrats, Chris.
Congratulations.
So back to you, Barbara.
Thanks very much, Chris, and welcome to the world the rest of us live in, which is really a very pleasant way to be.
Welcome to the ranks of the gainfully unemployed.
Yes, exactly. Reg, would you like to go through the virtual Astro Cafe?
I'll try and do that. I'm going to try and do a screen share. And let's go to share. Can anybody see anything there?
We can see your Gmail.
Okay. So what I wanted to just do is quickly go over the Astronomy Cafe website. It's changed a little bit. Joe did a nice job of reorganizing things. I sometimes post stuff here and I never put a heading down there. Joe comes and does that. So what we, first of all, I won't go to this, but the first thing is lunar photos from Mike Nash. A couple of really nice ones are in the last few days. You can zoom in there, and I've spent quite a bit of time walking around on the moon with them. They're really high resolution, so give it a try. And through the kindness of Dave Robinson, we have some more stuff from Edmonton, and this is Abdur Anwar. I think this is the first time that he has submitted stuff. Is that right, Dave?
He submitted some things, but certainly he's rapidly becoming a good photographer. He's relatively new to it.
Yeah, and he's doing this from his balcony using a Celestron 8-inch Schmidt Cassegrain, and it seems to me like he's having a lot of fun. And so you might want to take a look at those. The blue snowball nebula looks pretty intriguing. And he also got a nice rainbow effect. People in Edmonton are taking all sorts of beautiful pictures of the city. They seem to do that. And then this is, I think this was shown at last week's annular eclipse. I think
this is a new one actually, but yes, it's sort of a composite of time lapses. So I thought we better add it to the page so people can go and watch it. It's about 4 minutes long.
Okay, well, thanks for mentioning that. I thought I'd seen it. I'll go back and look at it. And some more noctilucent clouds. This is from the Soyuz area. You can see them up there. And a time
Definitely
lapse.
watch Deborah's time lapse. It's really quite cool.
Great. And then there's Joe's mention of the astronomical observations. Now, many of us have seen this Planet 9 or Planet 9 from Sam Lawler. She gave a presentation at one of our monthly meetings and also at one of the meetings up at the Saturday night star parties as well. But at any rate, there's a video for this here. You just click on that if you want to watch it. And then she's got the slide decks for all the 3 parts of her slide. And basically the crunch of the story is there's a guy named Michael Brown, who is the guy who demoted Pluto, fairly outspoken guy. And he's come up with a theory that there's a major planet well out, about 700 AUs away from our area. And basically Sam Lawler is taking him to task and saying that this could easily be explained by observation bias. So check that out. And then we have the observing for this week. And gee, I had another thing.
That was last week now.
Yeah, if something isn't showing up. No,
yeah,
that's
because you click on read more.
Or are you, no, I think that's pretty much it. The one other thing I wanted to let you know is that, we got this from Judy Black, the president from Halifax. They are posting a kind of a YouTube video that was done some time ago, but it's apparently a fairly interesting talk. And this, if you want information, maybe I should post this on the web that you can go and watch this. It's the same sort of thing that we just saw with all of the wealth of video information that is now available on the web. This is just another one of those. And these are coming in all the time. So one of the challenges is to actually consume all of this video information that's flowing towards us. And I'm not always have enough time to do that, but maybe some people who are recently retired will be able to do so. So at any rate, I'll stop the share there. And so two other things that are coming up. Normally on July the 4th, in previous years, a number of rascals have, in an unofficial capacity, have found themselves down at Cattle Point looking towards Lopez Island around 10:30 at night. And normally they have a fireworks show. I don't know if they've canceled it this year or not, but people have taken their telescopes out. And it actually is the birthday of Henrietta Leavitt. So we're calling this the Henrietta Leavitt Memorial Horizon Watch. So some people might be down there 10:30ish at Cattle Point on July the 4th. The other thing is that we have a council meeting on Wednesday, July the 8th, and that's going to be a Zoom meeting as well. And I'll be sending out an agenda for that. So we keep members of the council, keep your eye open for that. And with that, I'll stop the share and go back to everyone else.
Thanks very much, Reg. So does anyone have anything else they'd like to share, or shall we call it an evening?
This is Jim speaking. I just point out that tomorrow afternoon, 4:30 our time, Michael Brown from Caltech is doing one of the golden webinar series from the Catholic University in Santiago. So he may be giving his counter views of Planet 9 or Planet 9.
That's funny.
That's very timely, Jim.
Well, thank you, everyone. Nice to see you. And see you next week.
Night.
Good night.
Good night. Bye-bye.
Stay safe, everyone.
Happy retirement.
He's retired now, isn't he?
It will be soon.
Yeah, well done, Chris. Bravo.